This podcast is brought to you by Mapper Forward's new Patreon community, the Global Coffee Think Tank. Check the show notes or head to patreon.com/Mapper Forward to find out how you can become a member today. Welcome back to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I am joined by Jonas, and Jonas has looked up the name of that medal from the last episode, and we're both knocked our hands on our heads when we realized how absolutely basic this medal is. Go ahead and tell everyone what it is, Jonas.
Yeah, it's lead.
So for those who were yelling at us in their cars saying it's lead, you dummies, yes, we know. So, and if you don't know what we're talking about, you've missed the previous episode. Go and check it out. So today we are taking a question from our Patreon community. And that question it comes from Jethro. And Jethro says, I am curious about how the status is evolving around new crops and stabilization of the supply of Brazilian coffees. So if you could help answer that question, please, Jonas.
It's the coffee year was being very challenging for farmers, for roasters, and for traders. We beyond the coffee problem that we are expecting a low season this year. Mm-hmm. We are having a problem related to containers and exportation for coffee. So it's not just about have coffee now, it's about how we ship the coffee from outside of Brazil. And many traders now it's shipping coffee in a big bags, not more in the 60 kilo bags, because in that way they could ship the coffee inside the ship, not in the containers. So it's the solution that they find, because there's not enough containers since the pandemic. For people who do not understand that, China is a very important source of containers, because containers come from China from around the world with many goodies, right?
Goods, you said it right? Yeah. Goods.
And then people take all the stuff out of the container and put commodities, cars, and everything they want to export to other countries. So when we had the problem, China stopped it for a lot of months. So industry in China stopped it. So the containers were staying in China instead of
being exported.
From another country. So we had a problem that things needs to be exported. So all the containers that reach now the harbors in many countries, not just in Brazil, they need something that are delayed to export it. So There are now many or zero containers available for other stuff, and coffee was one of them. So I saw during this last month, like exporters put coffee in big bags, huge bags of beans, and put inside the ships. And people in some cases they are exporting using planes, because they have a deadline and they need to put the coffee in places like Europe, in the United States. So they take the bags, put inside the planes, and export, which is very, very expensive. But if you have a contract, you have to make your part. So beyond this problem that we will harvest 55 million bags using the forecast from the Brazilian government, which means we are last season we export about 42 million bags, and Brazil drinks about 21 million bags. So it's 61, and we will harvest 55. So this is what is worrying the world.
There's a deficit, right?
Yeah. So Brazil will export the coffee, the traders, of course, not Brazil, but the traders will export the coffee, or we will use the coffee for the domestic market. someone will
Miss out.
have a lack of coffee, but nobody knows. It's very depending. If the international price is still good, probably we will start to drink bad coffee in Brazil, because the pricey for if the international prices are good, people will export like they do with many commodities like soy and corn. It's how the things works. Um, and so probably we will face that. But even with you doing all the exportation, we still have this logistic problem.
Is the containers that you were talking about, that not the containers, the big bags that you were talking about, that the coffee is the solution that people are finding to export coffee, is that similar to the way that they fill up the compartments in the ships with different commodities? I know this happens with wheat and with soy, where they'll fill up the compartment in the ship directly with the... Is that the same thing?
No, this is a problem about coffee, because coffee is kind of standardized in the commodity, but it's not as standardized as soy. Because if we take soy from different regions in Brazil, they basically are the same. They're gonna be processed, grinded, and so no matter if there are little difference between the soybeans, but in the coffee is different.
It's very
like
different.
the coffee community don't know that if we take coffee from the Paraná state and from Bahia state, they are very far. So the characteristics of the bean is very different. So for roasters, this is a problem.
Right.
So that is why we need this bag. So we could make a big lot close. Let me say, I don't know the size, but something about, I think, 5,000 kilos per big bag, something close to that. So we have a lot here, another bag here, another bag here, is like a piles and piles of bags. But instead of 6-kilo bags, that will be impossible to put in a ship storage inside the ship. We use this big bag in terms of to facilitate the hauling. I forget the word, right? To take in.
The hauling.
Hauling. Hauling. To put inside the ship. That is why. So coffee, it's impossible to fill a whole ship with coffee because of this problem of standardization that we do not have even in commodity coffee.
Right. So when it comes to the question that Jethro was asking, is Brazil en masse, is or in general, I guess is what I'm saying, are they nervous about this upcoming harvest, or do they think it's going to be fine?
Yeah, in terms of harvest, I think farmers are fine with that, because the coffee is reaching the harvest season well in terms of health. So farmers see in the fields that the yields will be not as big as they expected, but they know the prices. Most of the farmers know the prices will be high during the harvest, because it is what it is. There is no magic to appear coffee in the tree. So they are very comfortable in terms of doing the harvest, and they see a good season in 2023. The only worries that they have, it's about inputs. So the fuel will be expensive, the labor will be expensive, because the price is good, but if with the inputs prices that we have now, it's not as good as was last year. If we have this price last year, the farmer will be very, very happy.
Everyone's going to party.
Yeah, but now due to this very expensive inputs that we are facing in all this crisis, that we are in the fringe of a war or not, and we are having an election in Brazil this year, so this could change a lot of things relate to economics in Brazil. And so this is what are worrying not just farmers, but the Brazilian population about what a kind of path Brazil will walk in 2023 after election.
Wow, so much to think about. In the next episode, I would like to talk about, if it's okay with you, I'd like to talk about the future of producing coffee in Brazil, because it seems like there are a lot of variables that could change the trajectory of the way that coffee producing goes, climate being one of them. And I think it's an important one for us to look at. So let's do that. Cool?
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Cool. Peace, love, and peanut butter, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks, friends. If you enjoyed this video, here's what you should check out next. Consider supporting Map It Forward on Patreon, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before you leave.